Welcome one, welcome all to DeFi Crypto and Airdrops, the Node, and DeFi University. Sorry, I don't know exactly what happened with our intro, but that's probably a good thing because, the music that we've been using, I guess we've been getting not copyright strikes, but it's supposed to be free music, but YouTube, the AI, is showing it as um, protected material. So we're in the process of doing a new intro. So I appreciate y'all showing up. David, how's it going, brother?
Doing well, Mike. Doing well. How are you this morning?
I just got caught off guard. I went live and the intro that I had set didn't play, and so I I got caught on my heels. I'm like on the ropes right now.
Oh
So
man,
how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. We got a lot going on in markets with crude oil. Coming all the way back to $96. Man, it was
Damn.
up near 120
Did
last
you
night.
do you still have that short in?
I never actually opened the short. I've just been watching, and
Oh, okay.
it looks to me like crude oil could be putting in a little bit of some type of a shooting star or a topping tail. So we'll see, man. But big move out of crude, and not just out of crude. I mean, the S&P, huge bounce to start the day. Same thing with the Nasdaq, and really, one of the biggest bouncers so far is the Russell. The Russell was off 4 percentage points last night, and
Mhm.
now only off 1.3%. Volatility is definitely paring back a little bit. So the VIX was nearly at 30. So VIX futures did exceed 30. VIX was well above 30, up at 35. So once you start getting up above that 30 region,
Well,
um,
well, well, really quick, explain to
mm,
people what the VIX is.
yeah, so the VIX is a measure of at the money options volatility for the S&P cash index. And basically the reason why it's useful is it'll tell you, it's almost like a fear gauge. And
Mhm.
so there are some really important levels that we watch. 20 is an important level on the VIX
Okay.
because below 20, that tells you, not much fear,
Mhm.
very little volatility. Above 20, you're starting to get into that spicy region. And then once it gets up above 30, man, that's like muy picante. Like,
Yeah,
you got some habaneros or maybe like,
a war in
something,
Iran or
yeah, something like that. Something like that. That's,
you got something going on, something on the macro.
that's exactly right, man. So tell us about the macro. What's news?
All right. Well, let's just start poking through the news. So in crypto, it looks like Bitcoin consolidation continues. Um, People are asking, is this the final accumulation zone, or is there more downside? Uh, at the time that I pulled this, we were hovering between 70K and 72K. I believe we are at about 69 and change right now. But it says trending X discussions highlight bearish calls, potential dump to the 45 to 54 range in 10 days per some analysts versus accumulation narratives asking, is this the final zone before upside? I know that you kind of lean more towards, like a bearish, outtake down to the 50 range before we see any real upside, because I know that you feel like that we have like about what I think you said, like 5 or 6 months left.
Yeah, so I go based off of the Bitcoin cycle.
Okay.
And I can't tell you why there's a cycle. All I know is that there is.
Mhm.
And that's really what matters to me. Um, so that tells me that this Bitcoin bear market, we should see a trough put in by October. So basically, once we get into the fall, like September, October timeframe, that's when I expect there to be, a Bitcoin bottom. But it's March, so
Yeah.
it is not October yet.
Yeah.
Um, and so, when I just take a look at like a weekly chart of BTC, the really important level for me is that 200 week moving average. And in every previous Bitcoin bear market, we've seen that 200-week moving average get tested or broken to the downside. And so depending on, how much you think that 200-week moving average is going to get broken to the downside by, that'll tell you like where you think maybe there could be a trough. So for me, I'm looking at like maybe 48K. That looks
Okay.
like a decent level of support. But if the stock market actually starts to correct, and this isn't just like a little one-day blip out of the stock market, and it actually does move a little bit lower here, well then I don't see how in the world Bitcoin could hold above its 200-week moving average, which comes in at 58K, and really I don't see how it could hold above 48K either. Um, so it wouldn't surprise me to see Bitcoin this year down with a 30 handle, like $33,000 Bitcoin, something like that. And that actually makes a lot of sense because when I look at the charts of all the altcoins, and I'm watching this stuff. I watch markets, 24/7. I trade for a living, and when I take a look at the altcoins, it really looks like most of them have another 50 or 60% left on the downside just
Mhm.
to get to their bear market lows from last bear cycle.
Mhm.
So when I'm thinking about this, Mike, I'm thinking about not just like what is Bitcoin doing. I'm thinking about what are equities doing? What's crude oil doing? What are interest rates doing? What are bonds doing? What do I see altcoins doing? What's gold doing? I think about all of these different asset classes together so that I can get a decent sense for what Bitcoin might do.
Yeah.
And because at the end of the day, I trade, Bitcoin and ETH. Mostly I trade ETH just because it's got enough volatility really to trade. But I trade Bitcoin and ETH for the most part, man. And I'm looking I'm looking at Bitcoin here, and I'm thinking I just can't wait to be able to buy it at 50K.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. So
Yeah. All right. All right. Let's go. Looks like there's some Bitcoin giveaways that are trending. Multiple one BTC prizes announced. Several high-profile X accounts are running one BTC giveaways. It looks like. Um, never mind. I don't like that. It's basically just people claiming that they're going to give away one Bitcoin for like follows and comments. Fuck all that. Um,
yeah, man. I mean, how many times do you see that and it turns out to be just a bunch of bullshit anyway,
yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah.
why I don't even want to report on it. Altcoin rotation is heating up. BTW is up 71%. Cubic, never heard of it, up 36%.
What's
Dent,
the ticker, Mike, for cubic?
just QUBIC.
Cubic. Didn't those guys aren't these guys one of those like, ISO coins or something like that?
You know what? You could be spot on that. Let me look it up real quick.
I mean, this thing, man, has so the price for this,
Oh God, yeah,
yeah, it's uh 0.591 times 10 to the negative 6,
yeah,
which
yeah.
is like so ridiculous.
So Cubic is a decentralized layer one network where scalable tech meets artificial general intelligence, or AGI, purpose built from the ground up to transcend the traditional limitations of blockchain.
Oh God, all those buzzwords, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Cubic is redefining blockchain with feeless transactions and instant finality, and a unique proof of work model that channels computational power towards AI training rather than wasting it. This is a network where mining serves a higher purpose. That's kind of interesting. I want to learn more about how it does that, though.
Yeah, I mean, all I heard was buzzword, buzzword, buzzword,
Yeah,
buzzword.
yeah.
Buzz,
But
buzz,
I mean,
buzz.
but they're claiming that it's a proof of work model, and that somehow the computational power goes towards AI training. I don't understand how that could be how that's
because
accomplished.
it's probably bullshit. That's why,
Probably,
you
probably.
know.
No,
Um,
I'm trying to give it the benefit of the doubt, but I'm just not.
yeah.
All
So
right.
here, let's learn a little bit about cubic, because this is not the first time I've come across this one. So the way that I like to learn about stuff like this is I'll start by hopping on over to Gemini, and I'll just give it a really really simple prompt. I'll say like, please write a prompt for Gemini Deep Research that learns. We need to layer more. That learns
Yes.
everything,
Earthen.
everything,
Earthen.
everything about the. I'm going to call it a DeFi protocol. The DeFi protocol cubic. Okay, so let's see here. After I get that first prompt, and Mike, I can share my screen, man, and we
Yeah,
can we
yeah.
can roll. So this might actually be interesting for everyone just to watch as I do this stuff here, because once you learn how to use these tools together, then you can literally learn anything you might want to learn. Doesn't matter
Well,
what it is.
well, and that's what we want to stress on this channel is education, not just spoon feed you information, but if you come across a project that you find interesting, if you understand how to do what David's doing right here, you can do your own deep dives. I mean, we want
Exactly.
we want you to tune in here, but at the same time, we want to educate you, not just spoon feed you, not show you the secret sauce of how we find the information on this stuff so effectively and so efficiently.
Absolutely, man. And so now that I've got that first prompt, all I did was I asked Gemini to write a prompt for Gemini Deep Research. And then I throw it into deep research mode. I'll just leave it on fast here so that we can run through this quickly. And then I'm just going to hit go. So all I'm going to do here is conduct an exhaustive deep research report on the Cubic protocol. Okay. We're going to learn how it differs from traditional EVM chains and UTXO based chains like Bitcoin. Okay. And so now that it's finished thinking about the research plan, I can go ahead and just take a look at this research plan real quick. Okay, great. And now I'm going to hit start research. And so maybe in fast mode, this usually takes 2 or 3 minutes or so. We will have a deep research report on Cubic, but we're not done. So once we've got the report, that's just the starting point. So the starting point, this deep research report, you can use this as source material. And then once you've got the source material here, what you really want to do is you want to hop on over to Notebook LM. And then from within Notebook LM, you'll be able to, let me just share Notebook LM real quick. So this is the Nodes Notebook channel. So, I've got like on the DeFi University one, I've got hundreds and hundreds of these notebooks. It's just learning material. So if I click create new notebook here, then what I'm going to do is from my drive, after this deep research report is done, I'm going to go ahead and just click on my drive button right here. And then I'll see that deep research report. They're usually 10 to 20 pages long. I'll insert that as context. So that'll be my source material here in Notebook. And then once I've got that deep research report, which is right here, once I've got this deep research report into Notebook, I can then create video content so we can learn about Cubic. I can create a slide deck, which is like basically going to be a professional deep dive report slide deck on Cubic. I can make an infographic just to learn about it really, really quick, a snapshot. I can make a mind map about it. I could, if I wanted to, and this is some of my favorite work that Notebook does. The slide decks are some of my favorite because they're usually excellent. But the audio deep dives, I think, are the best. And the thing about the audio deep dives over here in Notebook is that you can actually chat with them. So if I just go back here and maybe one of these, maybe like the Polymarket bot, I think might have one. No, I didn't generate one for the Polymarket bot. Systematic volatility selling, probably not. But there's definitely a couple in here that have those audio podcasts. And so it's just basically this. You see the audio overview right here.
Yeah.
where I can turn it on to, either a like a deep dive or a brief or a critique or a debate. I just leave it on deep dive. And I
Mhm.
usually leave this on default. If I set it to long, then you would end up with like an 18-minute long a conversation between two presenters talking about whatever the source material is. But
Gotcha.
the really cool thing about these audio podcasts, though, is that once you've created one, you can actually talk to it. So it's almost like, you can ask
It's
questions.
conversational.
Yeah, you can. Well, you can actually have a conversation with the two presenters. So it's the coolest thing in the world. If you really want to learn a new topic, that's the way to do it. And
Yeah.
yeah, man. So I'm almost done here with this report on Cubic, and in just a couple of minutes here, Mike, we'll have all of
Well,
those materials ready.
that finishes. Let me
Mm.
share this real quick. Let's see. Here we go. So if you haven't already, come over here to the Node.pro and bookmark this. This is where David is building out our live stream to where this is our official website. And once this is done, these all these different news topics that we talk about, I'm going to start posting the links to the news articles that I am referencing, so that if we talk about something and we breeze over it maybe a little too quickly, and you're wanting a deeper dive into it, you can go ahead and come here. You can click on it and you can read to your heart's content. We just don't have the time to dedicate, to every single story. So, this is where I'm going to be putting that material live while we're, talking. The live stream, the video itself, you could actually view here as well, here soon. And it's going to bring the arena, eventually YouTube, Twitch, Kick, and X, and there's going to be a unified chat to where everybody can chat, in a single chat. So if you're watching, on one of these socials, you can basically come here and you can talk to just everybody across all the different social media platforms. And of course, you can access all the free learning material from DeFi
That's
University.
right.
Uh, you can look at markets. Under the research tab, we're going to have all these tools that David's showing you right now of how we do our research, data aggregation, uh, yield, like computing yield from pools, just all kinds of really really useful tools, and all of which are free. And then of course, we're going to end up adding our newsletter here to where if you choose, it's just shy of $20 a month. Monday through Friday, I send it out by six.
$20.
$20.
$20.
$20. And it just gives you like a 5-10 minute read each morning of what's going on in both the traditional and the crypto markets. So just really good website. We're in the process of building it. Here in the next week or two, we're going to have a YouTube channel up, and we're going to be consolidating, a lot of potentially consolidating a lot of our separate channels into one place, just to bring everybody together, to bring all the communities together, so that we don't have 20 people here, 20 people there. We can just have everybody in one room, and all of you can talk to each other, and just again, just kind of bring all the communities together. So
Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
absolutely. All right, so let's. You want to share your screen again, and I'll pop
Oh
back in.
yeah, oh yeah. So check this out. We've got a little bit more done. So the first thing, let me just hop on over here to this tab. This is that deep research report. So remember what 15 minutes ago, Mike? Not even 10 minutes ago, when we started talking about Cubic. Just real quick, I don't know anything about Cubic, but
I
you
don't
don't
either.
you don't you don't need to. That's the whole point here, is to be able to learn about anything very, very quickly. So I liken it to, you remember that scene from The Matrix where Neo is in the chair in the Nebuchadnezzar, and he plugs into that training program and he
Yeah,
starts learning Taekwondo like really, 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 really fast.
yeah,
That's basically what this is like, man, where you can go from knowing nothing about a topic to damn near like an expert compared to most people in
mhm,
about 20 minutes.
yeah,
So, I started by over here in Gemini, I
Well,
just
what would
decided
usually take you hours of, just scouring the
days,
web and,
weeks.
Googling things and, going through, social media posts and white papers and, going to their website, just doing all this, shit and trying to weed through what's bullshit. AI does it in like 5 or 10 minutes.
100%, man. And, so just being able to generate these deep research reports on any topic. Now, here's the problem. If you use these tools to, generate deep research on something politically sensitive, it's going to lie to you. Like
Oh, yeah.
it will fucking lie, dude.
Yeah.
But if you're generating a report on something like, anything that's not politically sensitive, then you can be pretty confident that you're going to get some good information. Um, and the coolest part is the sources. Like, if we take a look at the source material here, so if I scroll all the way down to this report and it's 13 pages long,
So it cites
46.
its sources just like you would have to do like on a college paper.
Exactly right. Exactly right. And so this is, a 46 source report. And this is what you would expect from, like an elite student at one of these, top tier universities
Yeah.
writing a report on
Well,
some topic.
anything that's going to be peer reviewed, like if it's a medical journal or anything like that, this is the format. This is the official format for anybody that's learned. To present information is you have to cite your sources. You can't just state a bunch of stuff without saying where you got the information.
So, Mike, check this out. This is the first piece of material ready from Notebook LM. So this is about Cubic. This is just the infographic, right?
Yeah.
Describing what Cubic is. So it says the bare metal engine for decentralized AI. Now, whenever I see like, all like this is all buzzwords. Like
Yeah.
whenever
Yeah.
I see buzzwords,
It's a red flag.
buzzword,
It's a
it's
red flag.
huge red flag. Yeah. But okay, let's give it a shot though. So it integrates high performance bare metal computing with a useful proof of work model to facilitate artificial. Dude, I can't hardly read this shit. It's like artificial general intelligence proof of work model,
Let's
decentralized AI.
let's not do a deep. Let's not waste time doing a deep dive on this. I think that what you covered it was very important though. Just showing how you do this. Um, so I think that's what the takeaway is from this is using these tools off of our website to do your own research. These research tools.
Yeah, it really is, man. It really is. Now, in a couple of minutes here, we'll have a video overview, an audio overview, and a slide deck. Now,
Mhm.
these are the most valuable pieces of content when you want to learn about something.
Yeah.
Um, and then, we could even take a quiz. Like, I don't,
to make to make sure we learned about this project.
I know, right? So it might actually be kind of interesting to take the quiz. So this is kind of cool. I've never actually taken one
Well,
of these
well, let's
notebook
let's
LM
keep on let's
quizzes.
keep on with the news. I don't like I said I don't want to
Sure,
waste
sure.
I don't want to waste
Yeah,
like the
man.
whole show talking about Cubic.
No, me neither.
Yeah. So let's see what else we got going on. So it looks like do Bybit and Tether Golden Season rewards program gains momentum. The Golden Season offering over 1 million in XAUT gold back rewards via trading yield pools is seeing increased participation as users hedge against volatility from the war and oil surge.
Huh, so you
Uh,
said that was Bybit?
Bybit and Tether is their little promotion or rewards program called Golden Season.
Huh. And that's on, is that on Bybit's Dex? What do they call
That's
it?
that would be my guess. So here I'll go to the actual
Isn't it
and
called
I'll,
Buy
I'll
Real?
actually I'll actually share this. Hold on.
Pretty sure their Dex is called Buy Real, right? The Bybit Dex.
No, it should just be Bybit. BYBIT.
Right. And so Bybit, they actually launched also a decentralized exchange.
Mhm.
And I'm pretty sure it's called Buy Real. And the cool thing about Buy Real, and this would make sense with that that program that they've got going on here, it looks like with Tether, because they've got some unique products over there on Buy Real.
Yeah.
Like you can provide liquidity in like, an S&P 500 derivative paired with like USDT. You can do the same thing with like gold. So they've got some interesting, unique products over there. Let me just hop on over here to DeFi Llama, and
Well,
then
let me
yeah,
read this while you're pulling that up. It says this is a quote from the co-CEO. The real test of a platform is not how it performs in bull markets, but how it supports users when markets churn. Through our collaboration with Tether, we are bringing the reliability of gold into the digital asset ecosystem, offering our community practical ways to seek stability and steady returns while markets recover. Bybit and Tether are proactively creating opportunities for users to protect capital, earn sustainable yield, and access one of the world's most trusted stores of value assets, gold. We have been seeing rising demand for stable, yield bearing products amid market volatility, with millions of users shifting toward diversified portfolios that include tokenized real world assets, or RWAs. Golden season is that belief in action. Rather than waiting for conditions to improve, we believe what our users need most right now is stability. Markets will recover, we have no doubt about that. But in the meantime, our responsibility is to ease the pressure, provide real pathways to steady returns, and make our community knows Bybit stands with it. So, yeah, no, I mean, and we're not paid by Bybit; they're not sponsors, anything like that. This is just a news story. Do your own research, but I'm a big believer in RWAs, and especially any kind of tokenized commodity or asset. And obviously you need to do your own research on each because they're not all created equal. And again, what David showed with the AI, it's a great way to look at each of these assets and make sure that they are custodied, and they are curated by reputable, institutions. Things like BlackRock, and not to say that they're ethical, but they're one of the largest, and they're under the most powerful microscopes. The ones that have all those assets under management. So, you ready to share
yeah.
your screen, David, or
Yeah, so I found Buy Real, but I can't connect to it yet, or at least I can't connect to it at this very moment because I don't have my VPN turned on.
okay?
Um, but so I found Buy Real over on DeFi Lava, and so I'm sharing my screen here. This is what I see over on DeFi Llama. Um, the thing that I always like to look for when I take a look at something on DeFi Llama is I like to take a look at the income statement for the underlying protocol. Because at the end of the day, these are businesses. Just because it's like a Web3 dApp and it's referred to as a protocol doesn't mean that it's not a business. These are businesses. And so I really want to see that, number one, they make money. And number
Yeah.
two, that that their earnings are positive. Okay. Not just that they generate revenue, but that they actually make money. Um,
Yeah,
you know,
that pesky little thing.
I know that thing, that part. Make money, what?
Yeah. What?
So yeah, so I mean, but it looks like Buy Real actually does, make some money a little bit here. So that's good to see. Now, the cool thing about Buy Real, though, and I have been on this DEX before, is just that they've got some very unique products. Um, so you're not going to see on many other DEXs, the ability to provide liquidity in a pool that has, tokenized S&P 500.
Mhm.
That's pretty unique. And, Buy Real is pretty cool in that way. And that's why it makes sense to me that they would like incentivize those pools with, with Tether, with actual cash, with USDT. And so here's their X account. It looks like, dude, this is crazy. They've got a Buy Real command line interface. Wow. I didn't realize that. That's really, really cool.
So
So that means,
what is that?
so what this means is um, basically that you can just dial in to Buy Real's API using, Cursor or whatever your IDE is, or you could just dial in through your terminal and basically like code up AI agents that would trade for you. And it
Oh.
seems as though if their command line interface has access to, like liquidity provision,
Mhm.
or just their trading API, then
Mhm.
you could not just trade, but you could
Make your
code
own
up a
program.
completely custom trading program. Um, and look at that, they've got an open clause skill. Yeah, see, ask your agent to analyze any pool on buy real by APR, volatility, and risk profile. Then let it deploy liquidity and manage your position seamlessly. So this is basically just, this is a gold pool, XAUT paired with the USDT. But check this out. This trader is talking to his agent
Mhm.
using natural language. And the agent is not just responding, it can also take action for him
Yeah.
with real money.
Yeah.
So it says, see, want me to open a position? See, isn't that cool? And now
Yeah.
he's saying, add $100 in liquidity for XAUT. Look at that. That is super, super cool.
We might have
So
to
this
look at
is, what was that, Mike?
I said we might have to look at this. I mean, like maybe it's something we could add to our website to where, we could, allow people to, enter positions and things like that, through the website. I don't know.
I agree 100%. So that's called a wrapper. So the
Yeah.
way that that would work is we would essentially wrap the buy real API
Yeah.
into some chatbot that I could just throw on the
Mm.
Node website. And then when you're over here on the Node and maybe you're chatting in the terminal over here, once all the chats are wired up into this thing, you might be able to just tell it, hey, you know what? I actually want to provide some liquidity for ETH USDT over on buy real. What does that pool look like right now? And it could actually take action for you. You'd have to like, give it credentials and stuff like that. But that would be pretty darn cool, man. That would be
Well,
pretty darn
we could
cool.
we could integrate your new wallet that you're launching.
Oh, dude, the wallet is cool as hell, man. It's
Well,
super cool.
let's get into that right after the news. And maybe we can kind of spitball a little bit because that would be really cool because that wallet you were showing me last night, that Bitcoin wallet was pretty damn sexy.
It
And
is.
yeah,
It really is. It
yeah. So
really is.
I know me and you get on rabbit trail, so let me hurry and get through the news.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So the last headline in crypto news is Coinbase stock maintains gains on Clarity Act optimism. Uh, Coin, which is the ticker for Coinbase, is up 10 to 15% from recent lows as Trump's Clarity Act endorsement fuels regulatory tailwind hopes for crypto equities. So yeah, those that don't know, Brian Armstrong had a private meeting with Trump about a week ago, and after that, Trump came out and was pretty strong with some pretty strong wording that regulators need to get off their ass and pass, this Clarity Act so that people can earn yield on their stables. And and basic because the people that are holding it up isn't the legislators, it's the people that bribe, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it, that bribe the legislators which is the banks. The banks
What
don't.
do you mean? They don't bribe? It's totally illegal,
Oh
Mike.
yeah, no. I mean, they find legal ways to do it, but it's
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 legal bribery.
yeah, basically the people that
Yeah.
decide what's legal or not are the ones that are getting bribed. So that's
It's
why
it's
it's
called it's called lobbying. Yeah.
yes, and
Yeah.
it's basically it's why they can insider trade but not insider trade. Same thing.
Right,
So
right, right.
so basically they don't want us to be able to earn yield on our stable coins because if we can earn yield on our stable coins in DeFi, we don't need banks. And that's how banks make their money is we have to deposit our money with them. They get to lend it out multiple times, make a bunch of money, give us pennies on the dollar, if that. And we're supposed to be, thank you, sir, for holding my money for me. And
Oh, thank
that,
you, master.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah, yeah,
oh,
yeah,
this 3%, master. It's so good, the
right,
3%.
right. No, that's exactly how it's been.
Yeah.
And so that's why people like myself and David are so bullish on DeFi is it allows us to earn money on our own money. I know it's crazy. It's crazy.
No kidding. Well, look at
So
Coinbase stock. So this is not exactly what you would refer to as a bullish pattern. You see, the
Hmm.
problem here is the breakdown. So here's the 200-week moving average. This is a
Hmm.
weekly chart. If we take a look at the time frame up there, it's a weekly. I
Okay.
always like to start by zooming out. You're not going to catch me, analyzing an asset on the hourly, like an hourly chart. That's zoomed way in. I want to begin by zooming out a little bit. I want to take a look at a couple of years of data. I want to find important long-term trend lines like the one that I've got drawn on the chart here. And I want to find important moving average support or resistance. So
Yeah.
this 200-week moving average is an important level of support for Coinbase, and it actually held. So it was broken briefly for just a couple of weeks, but it ended up getting back above it. So this looks like a test of support where it
Okay.
held. Now, this is referred to as a false breakdown out of Coinbase stock here. This move below that trend line support, that's
Hmm.
referred to as a false breakdown, simply because we got below support and then immediately recovered that level of support. So it broke down, but it was a false breakdown. It did not break down and continue. So
Okay.
now that we're back above support here, the problem is it's already broken. So this level has already broken, which tells me that this is probably some type of a dead cat bounce. So yeah, this is definitely a dead cat bounce here. We got a cat. This is a cat. Okay,
Yeah.
and the cat here.
Well, it
You
doesn't
know,
look dead. It's standing up.
yeah. So the cat is about to be dead cat. So
Yeah.
it's gonna go down. That's
Got
that's the pattern. Yeah.
it. All right. Not
Yep.
not not Scoop Boy brings up a good point about the Clarity Act. Banks might just be trying to delay this until after midterms, hoping they can get Democrats in that aren't as favorable to crypto, and give them a better chance to get what they want, which is again, us not being able to earn on stable coins.
That's a good point, man.
Yeah,
I didn't even think of it that way, but
I didn't
those
either.
evil fucks, man, like
Yeah,
basically. But that's a really good point because if the Democrats get in, and all they would need is the House. Like let's
yeah,
say they get the House. Well, then all of a sudden, all legislation stops, and anything that Trump wants to do, like Trump could say, "I'm all for breathing air today."
he'll be a lame duck president.
And the Dems would say, "Well, I'm not for breathing air. Everyone hold your breath. We don't believe in breathing air."
Exactly.
So
No, very
yeah,
good point, not Scoop Boy. Yeah, I didn't think of that. That might be exactly what they're doing is holding out to see if they can get in because Elizabeth Warren. I mean, there's a lot of Democrats that that do not like crypto.
yeah,
And it's
yeah,
I mean we saw how under the Biden administration, how it was being handled. Not at all. Basically they were just trying to use the SEC as their kind of militant arm to crush crypto.
yeah,
Um,
exactly, exactly. And they were pretty successful too.
yeah,
2022 was a really horrible bear market, not just for crypto, but also for the S&P. I mean, in 2022, S&P was down and bonds were down. It was a double whammy. So all those 60/40 investors who buy bonds and buy stocks, they
mhm.
got crushed during the Biden regime, and crypto investors did too. Bitcoin went from in 2021, after that massive, money printing operation, went from, what was it, 68K all the way down to 15K,
Mhm.
and turned out to be a phenomenal buying opportunity for BTC down at
Hell
I know, right? So
yeah.
that's
Dude,
what
I honestly, I mean, obviously hindsight's 2020, but I kick myself. I should have just done nothing but bought Bitcoin through that last bear market.
yeah,
It,
well, that's the plan this year.
yeah, I mean that's
You know?
that's all I'm doing now is pretty much all my DeFi yield and any new buys. All I'm doing is buying Bitcoin. I've already got my altcoin bags built and just letting them grow in DeFi.
Yeah. So I'm just thinking to myself about where do I really want to step in and start buying BTC? And this level at 48K looks like, if I just take a look back in time a little bit, was resistance, broke to the upside after the election, and then, or I'm sorry, this was back in February of 24. The election's right here at the end of 2024. But so this was resistance, broke to the upside, that made it support. It held as support. So I
Mhm.
expect that if we get back down below this 200-week moving average, this level at 48, 49K would again hold as support.
Mhm.
But if the S&P starts to actually correct a little bit,
Mhm.
then I would expect Bitcoin to, probably move down below 49K. So that's just what I'm looking for. But
If we get like a that perfect storm of bearish indicators, where the stock market's dumping, you get unfavorable macro data, you know comes together, then yeah, it could definitely pull Bitcoin lower.
dude, look at this chart of crude oil. Unbelievable.
Hmm.
Unbelievable. This is a topping tail. So if we zoom in on the daily, this is referred to as a tail. This big, big wick here. So this is the
Hmm.
daily candle. Here's this wick, and then here's the small body of the candle right here. So
Hmm.
this is with this big wick. This is referred to as a tail. So this pattern here, this is a topping tail, but here's the thing. We've seen crude oil put in tails like that before and then continue pushing higher.
Hmm.
So we could end up seeing, a little bit of a correction, but it depends on how long this war lasts for. And from what I can tell, it looks like they just appointed, I guess, Khamenei's son to be like the next supreme leader of like Muslimistan or whatever the fuck they want to call themselves over there. So like, I mean, dude, that guy is even more crazy than his dad. So like,
They usually
a-
are.
and there's hundreds of thousands of people there that are part of that IRGC. So they need to all die, the IRGC, in order for the people of Iran to be able to not be living under the boot of a theocratic dictatorship any longer. And so
Yeah.
I think as long as that IRGC still exists and is threatening shipping in the Strait of Hormuz, I think we'll see oil remain elevated as long as we see that regime still in power there. So even
Absolutely.
even though this is a topping tail, I kind of expect oil to continue to bounce higher.
All right. Well, let's move into DeFi. So we got about 15 minutes left for the news, and then we'll get into the education. We'll maybe we'll talk about that AI with the node and the wallet. But so the first headline in DeFi, Morpho SUSDD USDC market, a pool sees strong early adoption. The new SUSDD USDC market, curated by Gauntlet, $15 million cap, is gaining traction for yield and liquidity on SUSDD, yield bearing stablecoin, expanding USDD DeFi utility. What do you know about USDD? It's a yield bearing stablecoin, because I know that we've talked about these yield bearing stablecoins before, and there's some potential red flags that you want to look for. Do you want to dive into that a little bit?
Yeah, let's take a look. So I have not heard of USDD. So tell me about the DeFi token yield bearing stablecoin USDD. So let's see what this is. USDD, and then I'm assuming SUSDD.
I would guess that
Oh,
that's the staked USDD.
oh, wow. Look at this. So it's a Tron token.
Okay.
Wow, awesome, awesome. So the reason why I'm actually like encouraged by this is because if we take a look over here at the chart of Tron, TRX, Tron is one of the best performing, tokens. Period. This past bull run. So if I just remove these brushstrokes, we can see this.
Well,
So
and those that don't know, Tron is a very one of the biggest stable coins. But go ahead.
yeah, yeah, one of the biggest for stable coins, but also I mean, the Tron token, I've just got a couple of levels drawn on here. I can go ahead and remove this one. But this past bull, Tron, was up 7x, 700% basically, from
Hmm.
trough to peak. But the amazing thing about Tron, though, is that it's basically outperformed most 99.9% of other digital assets. So it
Well,
ran
just
7x.
as stables, it's $87 billion. The
I
market
know.
cap for stable coins is $87 billion.
Yeah, it's a big one. It's a big stable coin chain. And my understanding is that it's used for a lot of remittances, but also used for stablecoin payments in Southeast Asia and South America. So
Mhm.
that would explain why it's so big. Um, but just taking a look at that USDD token, it says here's how the yield works for that. It's not just a passive dollar peg; it's designed to be "quote unquote" productive. There are two primary ways it generates yield: staked USDD, and that's the yield bearing version of the token where you stake your USDD, receive SUSDD in return, and it looks like it's a rebasing token paying 5%. So that's treasury. That's treasury, legit treasury yield. That's pretty
Okay.
great. Um, and then we've got the smart allocator. So it says the Tron DAO reserve uses a system called the smart allocator to deploy its reserve capital. And then that's distributed back to SUSDD holders. Okay, so let's see current status and risks. Market cap 1.1 billion, managed by the Tron DAO Reserve. SEC, settled their probably nonsense case against Justin Sun for $10 million. Okay, great. Natively available on Tron, Ethereum, and BNB chain. Awesome. So if we hop on over here to Morpho, and if I take a look, I'm looking for USDD, right?
Yep.
Looking for that USDD vault. And,
Or
it's
it
not,
might be USDD, USDC vault.
yeah, so USDD. So maybe I'll just go here to markets, USDD. There we go. So we've got SUSDD and SUSD. So borrowing tether, borrowing circle. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
awesome. So yeah, it looks like with pretty high LTVs over here. And this is a singular, there's Gauntlet. There's the Gauntlet vault. So it looks like total liquidity 13 million and 5 million. So that's pretty deep. Let's take a look at the Tether vault. This is on mainnet, on ETH mainnet. So the total market size 60 million with $12.9 million in liquidity. And it looks like you can earn the native rate. Look at that is 4.43%, and it allows you to borrow tether against your SUSDD.
Nice.
So yeah, so that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Um, not bad, but for me, when I've taken a look in the past, if we hop on over here to DeFi Llama, and then we just type in Tron, and we take a look at the Tron chain, this is a decently sized chain. It's definitely, I think, in the top five. Maybe not top five. It's got to be top 10 though. So if I
Mm.
hop on over here to chains and I'm looking for Tron, so Tron is number five. Yeah. So Tron is number five. Um, but if we just take a look at the Tron chain itself, this is what we're looking for. We're looking for lending protocols. So
Mm.
that's just lend and then collateralized debt product, that's USDD. So we
Mm.
can see that USDD is on three chains and just lend is the native money market
Mm.
on the Tron network. So if we just take a look at just lend real quick, this is the DAO that manages that USDD token. And then we
Mm.
click launch app. I don't know if I've got my Tron wallet installed on this browser. I'm pretty sure I do not. But taking a look here, if you want to hold USDD natively on Tron, well, you can earn 5%, 5% for just supplying this, over here on the Just Lend DAO. It looks like they've got $316 million in liquidity. That's a lot of liquidity.
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 Respect my liquidity.
Yeah, I mean, so 300 million is a hell of a lot bigger than the $60 million market over here on Morpho. Um, and also it really just I prefer to earn native yield like this. If I'm going to earn 5% just natively on USDD over here on Just Lend, I would prefer to do that rather than being on mainnet,
Yeah.
on Morpho. So yeah, this looks pretty decent. And now that we know, if we take a look at the TRX token itself, now that we know that the TRX token has actually done really, really well,
Well,
up 7x.
and something interesting to point out about Tron is that back in December of last year, right before the beginning of this year, Tron integrated with Base via layer zero.
Oh
So
wow.
that's and if I'm not mistaken, don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure that the new Aerodrome platform is going to be when it goes multi-chain. I'm pretty sure that Tron is going to be one of them.
Wouldn't surprise me. That sounds great.
Mhm.
Um, being able to provide liquidity in trading pairs natively on the Tron chain through that Aerodrome decentralized exchange, that is really, really cool, man. That is some next level stuff.
Well,
Very
anytime you
cool.
see these integrations, or these, it gives just so you understand the gravity of it. And I'm not just trying to hype Aerodrome. This is just in general. Anytime you see these integrate cross-chain integrations, basically what it's doing is it's allowing that liquidity to flow between these different chains. So instead of being, having that liquidity siloed just in Tron, those bridges or those integrations allow that liquidity to easily flow in and out, from Base to Tron to Ethereum to whatever else, Solana. That's another one that integrated with Base. So it that is what I personally am watching. As I'm investing in these different protocols and different chains, is which ones are building out this, basically liquidity base
Yeah.
for DeFi. And as TradFi and DeFi has that retarded fish frog baby, freaking where they come together, what chains and what protocols are going to be the rails for that? That is what I'm looking out for.
Yeah, man, no kidding. And I think it all comes down to liquidity at the end of the day.
Yeah.
That's really what it comes down to. Um, so yeah, what else is in the news, Mike?
All right.
I'm sure we got a lot going on.
Yeah, so TradFi looks like private credit funds face record redemptions amid liquidity fears. Blackstone's BC Red and peers see massive outflows. Blackstone meeting 100% of the 3.8 billion plus requests after an 8% poll, highlighting risks in high yield private credit amid retail inflows and geopolitical uncertainty. So maybe you heard more about this, but I heard that the outflows were so bad that they actually froze, withdrawals the other day.
Yes, yes, and it's not just like it just started happening. This has been happening. Um, so, I mean, these are like not liquid, these investments. So
Mhm.
let's see, it's talking about a liquidity problem. Again, liquidity. It's,
Liquidity.
it's all about liquidity. So
Yes.
it's saying here the primary issue stems from a liquidity mismatch. Uh-oh, that sounds bad. In evergreen or semi liquid fund structures like non traded business development companies or BDC. Okay, BDCs. These funds allow retail and high net worth investors to request money back quarterly, but the fund's assets are 3 to 5 year loans that can't be liquidated overnight. Wow. So there's almost like it's not a duration mismatch, it's a liquidity mismatch, and that's bad. So all that means is they're going to have to gate the withdrawals. they're not going to allow investors to withdraw money. So that's what gating is. So gating is a defensive mechanism where a fund manager formally restricts or stops withdrawals to prevent a fire sale of assets, right?
Mhm.
So these private credit funds have just been getting smoked recently. And let's just take a look here. Now, I'm going to ask it, give me the top three tickers, ticker symbols for the three largest publicly traded
Well,
private
well, you're
credit.
pulling that up. I want to do a quick shout out to the freaking arena. They're freaking in here representing. There's 60 people just watching on the arena.
Represent Arena
Yeah.
Sun.
No, for real, man.
Oh
That's like,
yeah.
I mean, that's strong as hell. So, appreciate y'all.
Me too, man. Love you guys over there in Arena, man. That's the place to be, dude.
Yeah.
Um, so here we go. We got a couple. ARCC.
Aries
ARCC. Yeah, Aries Capital. Let's take a look at this dog shit. ARCC. you know, Aries Capital. And it's gone. So here we go.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
We're gonna put you
basically.
$100 in this money market, and then and it's gone.
And it's gone. So, I mean, this is what happened in 2020. That was a pretty massive destruction of capital, 60% in 3-4 weeks. Wow. So let's go ahead and draw some support here. Where is the support? I'm going to use that low from September 2022 as an anchor. And then if I just extend to the right here, we can see that, yes, that level of support did break, but I'm going to go ahead and remove that. And instead, I'm going to throw down like a horizontal down here.
You want to
So,
share that tab?
oh, yeah, yeah, whoops.
There we go.
So here, yeah, I was sharing the wrong tab.
It's all
Um,
good.
so this is what we've got here. We've got maybe a little bit of horizontal support down here at I don't know 1650, but that crash from 2020 in March, that was a big crash,
Yeah.
60% in 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks. So it ended up being a phenomenal buying opportunity. But if we're talking about a liquidity mismatch between what Aries has lent out in duration, like 3 to 5 year loans, and when its investors can actually, withdraw assets, which is
Yeah.
like, every quarter, every 90 days. That means that they have no choice but to gate withdrawals as people are freaking out about the quality of some of these loans.
Mhm.
So that's Aries. That's the first one. That is the gold standard and the largest publicly traded BDC. So managed by Ares Management, often viewed as the bellwether for the entire private credit industry. So
Ooh.
this is the bellwether, and it's down from its peak, which was put in January of last year. It's down by 23% from peak to trough. So it's definitely in a bear market. And not only is it down 23% from peak to trough, but it's also trading below its 200-week moving average, which you can see right here, that 200-week moving average. So nothing good ever happens below the 200. So just something to know about these moving averages. You got to respect them when they're broken. So I
Mm.
think the next level of support comes in at like 1650. So, something that might be valuable here, let's take a look at the two other biggest, private credit, publicly traded private credit funds.
Okay.
Ares, the one we're looking at, is the largest, 13.5 billion. And now, have you heard of Blue Owl recently in the news, Mike?
So,
Yeah, so Blue Owl is one of the larger ones, and Blue Owl's ticker is OBDC. So let's take a look at OBDC. These guys have been in the news a lot recently because they've had some problems with their fund, and this chart here isn't exactly encouraging. Let's just measure from the highs from June 2024 to the trough. That's 36% from peak to trough. And just year to date, if we just go, year to date here and take a look at December to now, down 21% year to date, basically. So not looking too hot. And then if we throw down some support right there, so it got support at $10.21. But here's the problem though, Mike. Get below $10.21, and there really isn't any support down below there. Like
Mhm.
we'd be looking at those March 2020 crash lows. So that's really not encouraging when you take a look at Blue Owl. And then the last one on that list is Blackstone, Blackstone Secured Lending Fund.
And
B.
that's one of BlackRock's, subsidiaries, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, BlackRock owns everything basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Blackstone is, one of these private credit funds here, and we're getting a bounce so far this week. It is Monday, so plenty of time, but little bit of a bounce here. Near the lows. It's
Mhm.
it's trading near the lows. So this one has seen some pretty significant selling, down 32% from its highs. So yeah, these private credit funds, not looking too hot right now.
No, definitely not. And and that just so people are aware, that's actually the third largest. Actually, I'll share my screen real quick so you can kind of get an idea of what I'm talking about. So that is the third largest when it comes to RWAs. The tokenization of real world assets. Private credit is almost 3 billion. Almost a 3 billion market in RWAs. So you can see that this is RWAs are the tokenization of stocks, U.S. Treasury debt, commodities, bonds, institutional alternative funds, public equity, real estate. All these different things that traditionally were illiquid are currently in the process of being tokenized. The downturn in the market has not phased this at all. It's just up and to the right. So
Exactly.
this is happening. Um, it's what's allowing like Coinbase is offering the 24/5, not 24/7, but 24/5 stock trading is because of X stocks. Basically tokenized stocks. There's what is it? Canton. Canton is working with the New York Stock Exchange to tokenize stocks. There's a lot of different projects out there that are part of the tokenization of real world assets. If you scroll down, you can see some of the chains. You got Ethereum, BNB, Liquid Network, Solana, Stellar, Arbitrum. There's Canton, ZK Sync, the XRP Ledger, Polygon. A lot of these different chains are part of this tokenization, and private credit is just one of them. So,
Yeah, yeah, and people were saying that these private credit funds were going to be, one of the largest lenders to the Mag Seven names.
mhm.
Who, with all of that AI build out, people were saying that private credit was going to be tapped for like $1 trillion or something. I don't know how that's going to happen if these private credit funds are not looking too hot right now. How are you going to get people all excited to lend to these funds, which are then going to turn around and lend to, the Googles and the Amazons of the world to build out data centers when all you see in the news is, gated redemptions? That's really not going to work if they're trying to attract fresh capital. So
No,
that,
not
yeah.
at all. I
Mm-mm.
mean, that's yeah. When you're seeing everybody panicking to sell, it's not going to inspire people the confidence to buy unless they feel that it's reached one of those levels of support that you're talking about.
Very
Maybe
close.
somebody will see it as a buying opportunity, but
Yeah. It's
we
very,
shall.
very close.
I just want to do a quick shout out. We're halfway through the show. If you could, whatever platform that you're following us on, if it's on Arena, if it's on YouTube, it's on X, if you could please just throw us a follow. Share the stream. Everything we do here is free. All the information that we give, a lot of the tools, educational materials from DeFi University, they're all free. All we ask is you help us spread the word. We're trying to be an awesome source of information to you all without shilling, without hyping, without getting paid by projects or platforms. We're trying to be a place of integrity and just tell you the good and the bad. Again, good example. I'm bullish on Arrow. David thinks it's trash. And we're okay. We're still friends. But
Ah.
it's but that's okay. That is what this channel is about. Is we want to give you the full picture, not just hype up whatever project that we're invested in, or just shit talk the ones that we're not invested in. So if you could, please follow
Yeah.
the. All right. So next up, Treasury yields rise as oil-driven inflation fears intensify. 10-year Treasury yields climbed to 4.13 to 4.2% as investors price in higher inflation from Iran war oil spikes. Bond sell-off continues with rate cut expectations slashed.
Right.
What's your
Right.
thoughts on that, David?
Yeah. So here, let me go ahead and just share my screen. Okay, so this is interesting to talk about. Now, the reason why rates are, really, really important here, and the reason why inflation expectations are so important is because if the Fed is suddenly forced to start talking about raising rates because inflation expectations have shot through the roof, well, then what do you think that's going to do to equity markets? That's probably going to push equities like the S&P much, much, much lower. So if we take a look here at the 10-year, this is a chart of 10-year future yields. This
So,
is
so
the
what's
yield.
equities?
So equities are stocks.
Okay.
So the S&P 500, the Nasdaq,
Yep.
the Russell 2000, the Dow Jones Industrial Average. These
Got
are these are stock these are stocks. So
Right.
also
Good enough. I,
referred
I,
to,
I just want people to understand what equities are. Keep
sure,
going.
yeah, also referred to as equities, right? And
Yep.
so if we're taking a look here at yields on 10-year treasury futures, what we're really talking about is, where are the treasuries trading? And what are our expectations for inflation moving forward? That's really what we should be focused on here. And so if we're taking a look at 10-year treasury notes, the note price and the yield move inversely to one another. That's the really important thing to understand here. So if I'm taking a look at
And
10
for
year
people like me that don't like big words, that means opposite.
Right, exactly, exactly. They move in opposite directions.
Yeah.
So if the price of notes, those 10-year treasury notes, if the price of those notes goes up, that means the yield goes down. So here's the yield and here's the price. They're inverse or opposite.
Mhm.
Now, the thing that we need to be on the lookout for is, are we seeing yields move sharply higher? That would be something that would probably be bad for equities. Now, why in the world would yields move sharply higher? Well, if crude oil remains up around or above $100 for a long period of time, that is, energy is a big input cost in everything. And so
Oh
if
yeah. I mean, you're
energy,
talking diesel fuel to for shipping and for across land and sea. It just it's everything. It fuels petroleum fuels entire economies. So yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah, and so we're talking about potentially, crude oil having doubled over the last like 90 days. So if energy doubled in price, that
Yeah.
expense doubled, well, you're going to see that feed through in, the next couple of
Pricing.
months in inflation numbers and
Yeah.
in prices for everything.
Mhm.
So that would be really, really bad if you see, inflation. We see that double dip inflation, and so that's what happened in the 1970s. Man, it's so crazy too, because I was looking at that chart of,
There was people waiting in line, and
yeah,
depending on your license plate number, yeah, you were only allowed to fuel up on certain days. So like if it was like if it ended like in an odd number or something like that, then like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and if it was an even number, it was like Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturday or something.
Well, I don't think that that is in our future this time around,
Mm.
simply because, in the United States, we produce a surplus of energy here. So, like, I think we're going to be fine. But, the inflation numbers, if those inflation figures start to creep back up again, the thing that we need to think about when it comes to treasury yields and therefore what equities markets are going to do is what is the Fed going to do? Because if inflation ticks back up, well, then the Fed, which right now is hawkishly paused, if the Fed suddenly comes out and you hear, these officials jawboning about like, we're going to have to raise rates. We're going to have to raise rates because inflation is getting out of hand again. And, the only tool they've got in their toolbox is, raise rates, lower rates, print. That's
Yeah,
basically it.
they have
So,
basically three levers to pull.
yeah, yeah, you know? And so if inflation starts to run to the upside again, because you see gold, going straight up parabolic, you see silver going straight up in a parabola, you see aluminum, doing something similar. These are big inputs. You see copper, near recent highs. Um, so if crude joins the party and suddenly energy has doubled over the last 3 months, well, then you better believe that's going to feed through to CPI, the inflation data.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
if inflation starts to really tick back up, man, it's just a matter of time until you hear these Fed governors talking about, well, you know what, we might need to raise rates.
Mhm.
So that would be really, really bad for equities. I think equities like the S&P, the Nasdaq, the Russell, the Dow Jones Industrial Average, they would likely all sell off. So
Well,
that's,
and
yeah.
and 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 correct me if I'm wrong, but the reason for that is when rates go up, then because that's how most businesses operate is off loans for growth. For to hire more people, to buy new machinery, whatever. And if rates go up, then it means that it cuts into their bottom line, and they're not going to be taking those loans out. So the economy becomes stagnant. It doesn't necessarily contract, but it's definitely not growing. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, that's one way to look at it for sure. The beauty of markets is that there's always multiple perspectives on the same thing, and that's what makes it so much fun. And so if I take a look and think to myself, well, if the Fed has to start raising rates to, tamp off this next leg of inflation, well, then I could just take my dollars, and if I see yields on the 10-year up at 5%, well, I might just buy long bonds or I might buy notes because if I can earn a, you know, risk-free rate of return of 5 or 6 or maybe even more than that, 5 or 6%, why in the world would I buy equities? If I think that, stocks are going to sell off and, those individual businesses that I might buy, they're probably not paying a 5 or 6% dividend. So if I think that, these stocks are going to sell off and yet I can get a risk-free rate of return just hanging out in bonds, well, I might take a look at buying bonds. That's
Mhm.
that's just something to think about. If there's another leg of inflation, another bout of inflation, then if the Fed's got to raise rates again, all of a sudden it makes owning 10-year and 30-year notes and bonds look attractive because if the rate of inflation is maybe 3% or 4%, but the bonds are paying
I
five.
wish.
I know, but that's the official number.
Yeah,
It's complete bullshit, but
yeah.
that's the official number. So if the official number is 3 or 4%, but my bonds and notes are paying me 5 or 6 or 7%, well then why in the world would you own equities? Because the equities, if the equities aren't paying a decent dividend and they're also correcting like down 25 or 30% over the course of a year, well, then it makes owning that risk free debt really attractive. But there's a reason why people refer to treasuries as return free risk, because if you time it improperly, you can really get crushed you can really get crushed. And
Yeah.
that's the story of Silicon Valley Bank. A woke bank that bought a bunch of treasuries right
Mhm.
before the Fed hiked rates on the fastest rate hiking cycle in history. And
Mhm.
so all of those treasuries that Silicon Valley Bank was holding, if we take a look at these notes, the chart of this, so they started buying in like 2020 when yields on the 10-year were like 1 point something percent,
Mm.
very, very low. And then as the Fed hiked rates, what happened to the mark to market value of those bonds they were holding? Well, it was down 25%. So if they're holding $2 billion of these bonds and they're down 25%, then they've got a massive unrealized loss. And the unrealized losses on their bond portfolio were, I think, at one point greater than the market cap of the entire business. So it's like, that's why people, started to freak out because they thought,
Yeah.
oh my goodness, like if these losses were marked to market, this business is insolvent. This bank is
Yeah.
insolvent.
So
So
it caused a run.
yeah, it caused a run on the bank. And, that turned out to be the start of the bull market for Bitcoin, back then. So, right here, that's, that was what? That was in 2023, right? Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, that was like April 2023. That was basically, one of the first legs up out of BTC,
Mhm.
right around that bank run.
Well,
So,
let's we got about 45 minutes left. Let's burn through a couple of these macro headlines, and then I still want to get to our discussion on that wallet that you're building and our website and the potential for that, not Bybit, but that friggin' API integration that we ran across.
oh yeah, that'd be super cool.
So the Fed Beige Book. Supposedly, the economy's solid, stable employment, no, notes
Ah,
immigration and tariff disruptions. U.S. activity rose slightly, prices increased modestly, employment stable, outlook optimistic, but district reports disruptions from Trump's immigration crackdown and tariffs. I call bullshit.
yeah,
Moving
me
right
too.
along. Yeah, moving right along. China sets lowest growth target since 1991 at 4.5 to 5%. China targets 4.5 to 5% GDP growth for 2026 amid property weakness and external headwinds, prioritizing stability over stimulus, impacting global commodities and markets. Uh, Without getting too deep into this, I know that their real estate market has been struggling very hard. And I know that tariffs have hit China pretty hard as well, just because they do a market share of the manufacturing, and one of the largest market is the U.S. And so Trump has been very laser focused on ensuring that there's fair tariffs set on China, so that they're not basically sucking liquidity out of U.S. markets. So what's your thoughts on that one? Because that's an important one.
China,
China,
China. I
China.
mean, dude, look, it's basically like a communist authoritarian regime, and everywhere the Chinese go, just create problems, man. You can't work with communists, but they're blowing up their own economy, with malinvestment and overinvestment in nonsense projects. Like you can't just build and build and build and have no one actually live in any of these places and expect your economy to grow organically. And so, they just incentivize malinvestment. And I don't think that China is the threat that we once thought it was. They're a threat because of the chips and how we buy all sorts of shit from the Chinese.
Yeah, and
Um,
everything's manufactured there. From materials, raw materials like certain chemicals and things like that. All the way up to computers. Apple. Their phones. Everything is manufactured over there.
Yeah, and that's a problem. And I think that what President Trump is doing is reshoring manufacturing. And I think that over the next couple of years, throughout the rest of his term, we'll start to see that again. So,
I I think a lot of people missed that with the tariffs. It was something and I'm not that, I'm not like an expert on the economy or anything like that, but it's something that popped into my head when he started with all the tariffs, is because if these companies that have offshored a lot of their manufacturing and stuff like that, if it becomes less profitable to be over there, they're going to reshore their manufacturing to the US, because you don't have to pay tariffs if if it's manufactured here and not shipped into the country. So it's a way to bring jobs, it's a way to bring manufacturing, the taxes that are generated, from that manufacturing, those businesses. It's a way to re-onshore a lot of these that went out to Mexico, that went out to China, that basically went to the cheapest place where the cheapest labor was. It's a way to bring that back. So it's I'm sure that it was part of what factored in to a lot of these tariffs. Not to mention the obvious, where again a lot of these countries are just sucking liquidity out of the U.S. markets, and we get nothing in return, except
yeah.
shitty products.
Yeah, a lot of people will say, and not incorrect in saying this, but they will say that, oh, well, actually, the importer is the one that pays the tariff,
No.
and that when you're importing goods, that importer pays that tariff, and it amounts to a tax. But here's the problem with thinking of it that way. That's what you read in a textbook. The textbook is going to tell you this is what happens when you have tariffs, but that's not the way this works in real life. Because in real life, the United States is a market that exporters need access to.
Mm-hmm.
And if they all of a sudden can't get access to the United States, that market, because they've got a 50% tariff slapped on their goods,
Mm-hmm.
then guess what? They're going to have to cut their prices. They're going to have to really slash prices to get access, to keep access to that market. And if they've got to continue to do that, well, then they might just decide, hey, we're going to move our manufacturing operations to the United States instead.
Yeah,
And I think that that's what we're seeing just start right now.
yeah.
All of that investment, man. So what Trump says, $20 trillion, something like that. That
Mhm.
is a massive figure. If it's even half that,
Yeah,
10 trillion, if it's even half, like that means the reshoring of manufacturing into America. And dude, like it's such a shame when you look at places like Detroit, Michigan,
yeah.
where everything used to be manufactured and built there.
Oh, yeah,
Uh,
all the car manufacturing, and there was like a lot of electronics were manufactured there. Back in the day of Zenith and all that. We're talking like back in the '70s and whatnot. But it was a shining diamond of what a city could look like. I mean, just modern, clean. Everything was great, and not to get political, but Democrats took over
yeah.
and
Was
they started taxing the shit out of them, and the unions strong armed a bunch of them for ridiculous wages for janitors and stuff like that. And so they moved the manufacturing. Finally they got to a point to where they're like, we can't turn a profit, and we have a fiduciary responsibility to our stockholders. We're going to have to move our manufacturing, and that's when they started moving manufacturing to Mexico and all these other places, because it was cheaper labor. And it was either that or raise the price of vehicles, to where they're unaffordable. So
Yeah. So, not Scoot Boy is saying in the chat, isn't cheaper outsourced goods part of the world or economic order flow? I don't think so. I don't think so. It's not just about like cheaper or outsourced. I think we need to be looking within. Like we need to be looking for manufacturing here in the United States, not just cheaper goods that we can import from outside of the US. So I'm all about buying stuff that's made here. And I don't know if you noticed, Mike, but sometimes it's difficult to find certain items that you might want to buy that are
mm,
actually manufactured here in the United States. it can be difficult to find that stuff
Almost
sometimes.
impossible.
Mm.
And I mean, growing up, I mean, I remember the days. I mean, I'm over 50. I remember the days when you bought a vacuum and it lasted a lifetime. A fridge. You bought a fridge and it.
How many vacuums did you buy, Mike? You got a collection of vacuums or something?
Well, I mean, now, I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
nowadays, I mean, hell,
yeah,
I bought a Dyson and it lasted. I think it was like 2 years, 3 years, and it's a top of the line vacuum.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
it's they're not cheap. I mean, I'm wanting to say it was like when I bought it, it was like $800 or something like that.
I know they are. Yeah,
Yeah, and it lasted a couple of years. Back in the day, those heavy metal ones, freaking I forget the brand of them, but they had repairmen, that used to go
yep,
around, and instead of buying a totally new appliance, you actually had a repairman that would come to your house and they just fix it on the spot, and there you go. And there was warranties that a lot of them, that was like 5, 10, 20 years, to where it cost you nothing to get it repaired because they stood behind their product. That's
yeah.
what we need to get back to.
Yeah, man, I agree with you 100%. I remember those. I remember my mom had one of those vacuums, and I remember us going to a vacuum repair place at one
Yeah.
point because, like, those were durable household goods. And not
Oh, dude,
anymore.
the thing was like a tank. Freaking
Yeah, now they're
it
like
weighed like 80
disposable.
fucking pounds too.
Yeah, yeah. And now they're like these disposable things all
Yeah,
made in Southeast Asia somewhere. And I think that we're going to, over the next 3 years, throughout the rest of President Trump's term, we're going to see more US manufacturing than we've seen in the last 3 decades. I think
absolutely.
that's what we're going to see.
Well, for the last 30 minutes, let's dive into what we were talking about, like the potential, just because I want people to understand, kind of how this technology is evolving, and and also a little bit of shilling of of ourselves. But what we talked about with the our official website, the Pro, just kind of let's look at the potential with that Bybit news that we covered, with the integration through that command line of that building a product like that, and and possibly even integrating that Bitcoin wallet that I know that you and DeFi Don are building out.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, we could talk about both of those. In fact, why don't we start by talking about the wallet? So here, Mike, I've got my screen share running here, and we can check this out. So, um, been working with DeFi Dawn to build a real product here. This is My Bank BTC. So the way that I came up with the name, here's the flow. This is what it looks like when you vibe code. Okay, there are 3 steps when you're vibe coding. Only 3 steps. Step number one, you got to get drunk as fuck. Okay, that's step one.
Very important.
Very important step.
DeFi Don had that nailed down last night.
It's fucking very important. So step one, get drunk as fuck. Step
Yeah.
two, you got to spend like 6 or 12 hours just vibe coding into the night. Notice this is when I signed off after getting it all working. It's
Mhm.
3:54 in the morning. Okay. So step one, get drunk. Step two, spend 6 or 12 hours just vibe coding in cursor. Step three, profit. That's it. There you
Yeah.
go.
It's like on South Park. Step
Yeah.
one, steal the underpants. Step two,
Yes,
step three, profit. What's step
that's
two?
right. It
Don't
doesn't
mind. Don't
matter.
worry about that.
Don't worry about step two. So basically, what I built here, and DeFi Don helped a lot with this. So this is the Bitcoin Bank. It's a private custodial Bitcoin Lightning wallet. That's what it is. And I built in a couple of different ways that you can create a key pair or an account. So you can log in using whatever your Lightning wallet of choice is. So you can log in by scanning a signature or copying a Lightning URL. You can log in by connecting with your Nostr Wallet Connect wallet, or maybe if you're running a node and you want to connect using Albi Hub, or maybe you're on Primal and you've got your Primal wallet, which is just a Nostr key pair. You want to maybe like control your Lightning wallet with your Nostr key pair over on Primal. You can do that. A bunch of
Well,
other.
I got to ask because I know some people out there are gonna wonder. So, how safe is it to connect your wallet to something like this?
Not safe at all. Don't connect your wallet. Not yet.
No,
Not
no,
yet.
yeah, no. Like I said, I want to
Yeah.
make sure that we put that out there because
And
you're
so
not.
this is no, no, no. So this is still on Signet, which is the
Yeah,
Bitcoin testnet.
no,
So
and
there's
that's why I brought it up because I want people to understand this isn't market ready. So
no,
don't
not
go
yet,
doing
not
what
yet.
he's don't
Yeah,
go doing what he's doing right now because it's not done.
yeah. So you could connect your wallet. You won't be able to do anything on this yet because I'm just wiring it up on testnet.
Yeah,
Because I want to just make sure that all the functionality works on testnet, and then I can bring it on over to mainnet and actually start to penetration test this thing and try to break it. Um, so you can connect with a Lightning wallet, you can connect with your Node wallet or like a Nostr wallet, Connect wallet, and you can also create an account using an email. So that's pretty cool that you can create a key pair using your email address.
mm,
So why don't I just go ahead and log in real quick? And so I was able to get this working on Saturday morning at like 4 o'clock in the morning, finally, where you can see on your dashboard. So I made a deposit, and these are Signet Satoshis. So these
mm.
are testnet Sats. But I finally got this working. The dashboard view. I got the deposit working. So you can actually, if I hit generate deposit address, notice the TB here tells
Yeah.
me that this is a Signet testnet address. Okay. So this is not going to work for real Bitcoin. This is just Signet BTC. And after you deposit, it's going to show your deposit status right here. And this all works. And then you'll be able to see your deposit on the dashboard. But I haven't fixed the withdraw part yet. So you can't.
So basically, right now it's a honeypot. You can
Yeah.
deposit, but you can't withdraw. So
Oh,
again,
shoot. Don't
do
worry.
not use this. Do not use this yet.
No,
This
don't
is
worry, Mike. Just trust me, bro.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
going to be
Trust me,
great.
bro. Trust
Yeah.
me, bro.
Yeah. So,
So let's move on to since this isn't like market ready. I think we got the gist of this. Let's
well, so here, let me share this tab instead. So really, just at a high level, what is my
yes.
bank BTC? It is not just a custodial private wallet. It's actually a stack. It's a stack of different components that together allow you to build all sorts of cool stuff on top of Bitcoin Lightning.
So
So,
so one thing I do want to point out is the Bitcoin mainnet is not private. I mean, you can see all transactions that occur there. You can look up a wallet, see what they've sent, what they've received, all that stuff. This actually adds a privacy layer. Am I correct in that?
100%, it's called Cashew.
Bless you.
So, yeah, I know, right? So it's Chaumian eCash. So there's a couple of different things that allow you to create real, true Swiss bank type privacy. Well, actually, the Swiss bank type privacy might not be the best, way to
Now,
describe it now, because that doesn't really exist over there anymore. There's no privacy in those bank accounts anymore. This is true private Bitcoin and Lightning transactions. And here's how it works. So the first layer is you've got these PTLCs. Okay, so PTLCs are contracts on Lightning that are private. So that's number one. So the node doesn't know what message is being sent to what node. The node operator himself can't actually look and see any real information about all of the hops going through his node. So that's number one. You've got these PTLC contracts that make the node, it's called gossip, that make that gossip a little bit more private. And then over here, once you're actually depositing assets into your custodial wallet at my bank BTC, then we use Cashew, which is this, basically you can think of it like poker chips. So Chami and eCash. So when a new user creates an account and deposits funds, deposits Bitcoin, he's going to receive, eCash, and those are blinded bearer tokens. And so these blinded tokens mean that the node operator has no idea who owns what, really.
yeah,
So you can't, even me as the operator of the node and the private stack,
Mhm.
I don't know who owns what where and who's sending what to whom because
Yeah.
I'm completely blinded to it.
Mhm.
So this is like the ultimate in privacy.
No,
So
that's awesome. I mean, that's a fucking a massive, upgrade
yeah,
to Bitcoin.
yeah, it really is. Um, and so basically, with this stack, this is like the base layer. So all of these items together allow you to then build really cool, true DeFi dApps on top of Lightning. So, I've started to put together all of these different angels to see if I can, me and DeFi Don can actually get some funding and be able to build this out, man, because
Well, I know
I'm
you applied for a grant.
yeah, applied so far at OpenSats, but plan to over the next couple of weeks apply at all of these, especially once I have the app actually working. Once
Mhm.
once the DApp is,
Well, you have
you
proof
can
of concept.
yeah, I mean, once you can withdraw, like you need to be able to withdraw. Like
Yeah,
that's an important feature.
that little piece of functionality is kind of
Yeah.
important.
Yeah, that's an important feature. So once you can actually like all the features work, it's just a matter of maybe a couple more weeks. Then see if we can get some real funding for this because this is like the very base layer. So the very first thing is you need to be able to build some nodes, and
Mhm.
we did that. The second thing is you need a private custodial wallet. Okay, great, built that. Working on that, and then you can build all sorts of cool stuff on top of that. So
Mhm.
think, Uniswap and AMM. Think Aave, a money market. Think, a Hyperliquid, a Perpstex. Think, Pendle, a bond market. Like
Mhm.
all of this stuff, when you're building on Lightning, it needs to be built on top of your edge nodes and your client. So you can build anything you can dream up, but you've got to start first with the nodes and some type of a wallet, some type of
Yeah,
a
the
private
Rails.
client. Yeah, the
Yeah,
Rails.
the
Yeah,
Rails and the on and the off ramp.
exactly.
So let's transfer over because we got about 20 minutes left. Let's look at the Node.Pro and start kind of talking through the potential of being able to integrate this wallet on the site, and then maybe even talk about the potential of being able to use that command line code from Bybit to and this isn't just to talk about something that we might build. This is I want people to understand how this technology can come together. How just you as individuals can leverage this technology and do it in a secure, responsible way and build out dApps, build out things on blockchain technology that potentially, I mean, you could turn into a business, from home. So let's see what we can kind of come up with here with that command line code and
Sure. So
and the
let,
wallet.
let's check this out. So the first step is going to be, to actually build this, we've got to begin over here in Gemini because we need to give Cursor all of the research context first.
Yeah.
So I'm going to hop on over here to Gemini and I'm just going to say, please don't say please because fewer words, the fewer words, the better. Write
So
a
So
prompt.
you want website, wallet, and command line code are the three aspects, right?
So website, wallet, and so which
The Bybit with command line code for the for access to the API or whatever.
yeah. So the way that I'm thinking about this is if they've got a free API,
Hmm.
then all you need to be able to do is build on top of that API. So if
Well,
that
didn't they have that command line code that made it a lot easier when we were talking about it earlier in the news?
yes, 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 yes. So that's over here. So that's this tab.
Yeah,
Where we can see that you can build a little chatbot that allows you to interact with the API there at
I
by
was just saying, let's make sure that we mention this as a part of the context.
Yeah, exactly,
Okay,
exactly. So what I'm going to be doing is if I hop back on over here to Gemini, what I want to do first is I need a prompt for Gemini Deep Research to learn everything about the uh, buy real, buy real. So let me just get the URL for buy real quick. I'm pretty sure buy real's URL is buyreal.io. Great, got it. So I want to hop back on into Gemini about the buyreal.io API, and how to wrap the API such that I can, interact with it using a chat interface on my website. Okay, great. So it's going to write a prompt to learn about that. And then I'm going to take this prompt. Okay, so let's just read this real quick. So it's a chat interface for a financial or Web3 API like BuyReal requires a deep research prompt. BuyReal is a specialized Solid-based DEX, agent native features like the CLI and OpenClaw skills. Okay, great. So here's the research prompt. I'm going to copy this. And then all I want to do is create a new chat using that deep research mode. I'm going to leave it in fast mode just so we can do this quickly. And I'm going to hit go. And so now it's going to create a plan to perform that research. And there we go, generating research plan. And this should take just a couple of moments. And then once we've got the research plan, then I'm just going to take a look at this real quick. So it's going to take a look at the BuyReal developer documentation, GitHub repos, community resources to learn about the API, basically. It's got this CLI and the OpenClaw stuff. Great, awesome. I'm going to hit start. And so now in a couple of minutes, we're going to have the research context that's required to actually start building on top of that API. And so the next step would be to take this report once it's finished and throw it into my code base that I'm using to actually build the node.pro. So the node.pro has a code base. I'm working in that code base to, update features on the website. And in order to integrate that BuyReal API into the chat, I need first to know everything about the BuyReal API. So that's what this deep research is going to do. Once I have this research report, I can take this, throw it into the node.pro code base, and then I can start asking it questions. I can use Cursor to build software on top of this API. But here's the thing. If I was to just hop into Cursor and ask it, hey, build a chatbot on top of the BuyReal API, it would just make up a bunch of bullshit, and it would tell you like, oh, I got it done, boss. It looks great. Here you go. Take a look. It'll tell you that it worked when it didn't work. It didn't at all because it will just hallucinate. And the reason why it hallucinates is because you need to give it the context first. So that's why this first step is so important. Over at Palantir, they call this ontology. To me, it's really just like giving the agent all of the required context so that it knows exactly what to do. And that really avoids all the problems that you get with hallucinations.
Well, it paints a fuller picture of what the end result that you're looking for.
Yeah, it's going to give it all of the information that it needs to actually get the job done without hallucinating.
Yeah.
So that's really the bottom line here. And it should only take a couple of minutes. And then once this research report is done, I just hop into Cursor and I can get started, building this terminal into not just a chat where you can see all of the chat outputs from all of the different platforms. Yeah, so Twitch, Kick, X, Arena, YouTube. It's going to be a little bit difficult to get that all working, but I'm sure it probably will. So the chat right here, you could also build in basically like a BuyReal wrapper. That's basically what it is. It's like a wrapper for that BuyReal API that just allows you to like chat with the BuyReal DEX from within the terminal here. So I would have to make sure that complies with whatever their policies are over at BuyReal. But really, really cool idea. And that's exactly how I would build it, simply by starting over here in Gemini.
Well,
And then,
I
yeah,
think it would be cool because if like if we had like a research tab to where you could do research and you had all the tools like you were showing earlier, how to do deep dives on some of these different investments, to where you could have the AI basically tell you all the the positives and negatives, have you look at the charts and just all those different things, and then you could use this buy real API and enter into positions and things like that. It'd be kind of a cool one stop shop, to be able to to be able to do your investing out of.
100%. I think, having a tool that useful built into a website that you're just going to, be on every day listening to us bullshit about DeFi and crypto,
Yeah.
that's super cool, man. It's super cool. And, the fact that anyone can build this stuff now, just amazing.
Well, and
So,
you could be doing it like while we're talking about stuff. I mean, if like if we're talking like super positive about a project, and you're sitting there doing research while you're listening, and you're looking at the data, and you're like, I don't know what these guys are smoking. This thing's freaking a smoking pile of shit.
yeah,
Then I mean that's kind of what we want here. And we want you to say so. If we get to a point, or you're even now, if you're doing your research while you're listening to us and you see something that you want to call out, throw it in the chat. I mean, we hate echo chambers here.
me
We
too,
love
man.
opposing views. So
Yeah,
if you see something that we're not seeing, throw it in the chat. Call us out. If it's facts, figures, logic, I'm all about freaking absorbing that into my thesis on any project.
so, something that comes to mind, Mike, as you were speaking there about
There's DeFi
interacting with
Con.
the, yeah, something that comes to mind about interacting with the chat is, what about DeFi Llama's API? So
Yeah,
DeFi Llama has a great free API.
I would love
So
to have that integrated.
yeah, I'm thinking the same thing, man. So write a prompt
I mean,
for,
if you had the dashboards, I mean, it's something that I was had a project I was building for a DeFi aggregator for a while, and I was even able to get a lot of the dashboards and stuff and menus from DeFi Llama to come up in the app, like directly. We could do that on the web page to where and put it under the research tab, to where you can go and you can look at real time data of these DeFi protocols and chains.
yeah, and just being able to go back and forth with it, whether it's buy real, you want to provide liquidity maybe, or
Mhm.
it's DeFi Llama, you want access to high quality data. Um,
Well,
you know,
and if we have an AI, that chat that's it's integrated. If all those APIs are all aggregating all of that data together, to where you can just ask it, hey, I'm looking at Hyperliquid. I'm looking at Hype right now. Is this a good time? Is this a good entry? And it can basically line out, hey, this is what I'm seeing that says yes, this is what I'm seeing that says no. It just gives you basically a summary of is this a good entry point and why. Not just yes or no, but this is what I'm seeing that makes me think that it's a good entry point. And then of course you're going to want to do a bit of due diligence on your own, but it's going to give you a a feel or a vibe or a direction to go to decide if you want to invest in that asset or not.
yeah, man. And so what I'm doing right now is just getting a little bit more information about that DeFi Llama API. So I think it should be pretty straightforward to integrate both that DeFi Llama API and that Buy Real API into
Mhm.
the chat over at the Node.pro. So just working here to really make that website useful.
I want
Um,
to I want to do another shout out. Freaking, we're over 100 people just on Arena watching right now.
that's awesome,
It's
man.
freaking shout out to the Arena. I mean, yeah, I prefer. I'm really hoping the Arena grows because I'm not a huge fan of YouTube, is just where the eyeballs are at. I really hope that platforms like the Arena, blow up. And then, of course, we got, about 150, 200 people watching live across, the other socials. So shout out to all of you. I appreciate you being here. But you were saying, David.
Yeah, I mean, like, love all you guys, man. Like, it's awesome, dude. It's awesome. So really, all I'm thinking about here is what other functionality do you really want to see, Mike, in that chat? So we're gonna
I
have.
would just love to be able to log onto the website and be able to have because a big thing that I use is DeFi Llama RWA.xyz, and and of course if there's that buy real integration, be able to with the other tools that that you've developed, in the we could put those under the research tab as well, but have all of those somehow integrated into the AI chat to where whenever you're talking to it, that you can ask it. You can say, hey, based off the data, based off everything, I'm thinking about investing in the, whatever this asset is, gold, silver, crypto, hype, Bitcoin, whatever. What would be the best way to go about that? And it would basically give you a thesis on how to deploy your assets. You could even say, I have $2,000 that of dry powder, liquid capital that I'd like to deploy right now. Where do you see the best potential for ROI? For that money right now, and it could just aggregate all that data and say, based off of the amount that you want to invest and the current market, this is where I would think it would be best, and this is why.
Check this out. So, I just told Gemini over here that I've got the Buy Real API and the DeFi Llama API integrated into the terminal chat. But it's saying if you want a truly pro terminal for crypto and Bitcoin focused audience, you should add APIs that cover real time sentiment, on chain flows, and macro data. Okay,
That's
great.
It'd be cool to see, to be able to see those flows. Have like a not Scoop Boy says if you could make those dashboards customizable for accounts. So like if people could build their own dashboard, from those different APIs, like if they like using DeFi Llama, if we were able to do like an API that I forget which website it is, but it has that graphic that shows the liquidity flows of from different chains and like where the liquidity's flowing from and to. If people could customize their own dashboard to where they could see the data whenever they logged on, they could see the data that they wanted to see.
Bro, this looks really, really cool. So check this out. We can get CoinGecko and Dex Screener. They've got free
Yeah.
APIs.
Okay.
DeFi Llama free API. Buy Real free API. We can do.
I know
Let's
Crypto
see here.
Panic is the one that it said Crypto Panic. That's of sentiment. So like socials, what's trending and things like that.
Yeah. So I mean, we can do Crypto Panic. We can do Lunar Crush. It
Lunar
looks like
Crush
we
is
can
another
do.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, we can do mempool.space. This is for Bitcoin. We can do Whale Alert. I guess this is for Bitcoin too. Oh, this is just for.
Whale Alert is a really good account to follow on X. They're the ones that are always throwing out the data whenever there's like big purchases or big sells and things like that. So that would definitely be important to know.
Yeah, so I mean, what I'm thinking now is I'll just integrate all of them.
Okay.
Why the hell not? Like,
Yeah.
we could do all of them. So I'm going to say, give me a list of all of these APIs and make sure that they're all free and public. Okay, great. So I just want a list of all the free public APIs, and then I'll just integrate them all. So you'll be able to like chat with the chat terminal on
Yeah.
the node.pro. But really, what you're doing is you're interacting with BuyReal and DeFi Llama and
Simultaneously.
CoinGecko and Dex, exactly, and Dex Screener and all the rest of them all at once. So
So
here,
basically an interactive data aggregator.
basically, yeah, all wrapped up into a little chat window.
Mhm.
So it's these are the free ones, I think. So free endpoints, got it. Alchemy free tier and Whale Alert free tier and mempool. Okay, so it looks like the majority of them have free endpoints. So CoinGecko, mempool.space, CryptoPanic, Dex Screener, and Whale Alert. So this is in addition to DeFi Llama and ByReal. So that's super cool, man. We can have an actual, like, valuable, useful chat terminal that
Yeah.
people will be able to interact with and actually get like real data, not
Mhm.
just like some hallucination from, Chat GPT or something.
No, absolutely. And then, and we could, roll this out in stages, have it, get that going. And then, eventually add a dashboard, to where people can customize it and, see and actually, see the data, from the different sites. Or, maybe we can even get it to where, in the chat, they can say, hey, build me a dashboard that, shows me the, the data from your from your output, where to sort, cite your sources, show me your sources.
Yeah, I need data.
Yeah,
All the data.
yeah.
Yeah, man. But that's
Oh,
super
that'd be
cool.
cool.
Yeah. I think, Mike, it's actually it'll actually be easier to wrap up these APIs than it
Mhm.
will be to get all of the chats
Yeah,
into the chat. Like,
yeah.
it's kind of funny.
Well,
Um,
and and yeah, and honestly, I mean, the chats all being in the same place, I think that we're going to be fixing that. Potentially with the meeting that me, you, and Jeff and Don are going to have about just consolidating, the potential of consolidating, all of our different channels to where basically everybody will view on just the node, the node channel. Because on X, I mean, every once in a while we get somebody on X that has a blue check mark that that's allowed to chat, but for the most part, the arena and YouTube are the places where everybody's chatting. So if we can just get everybody in the same YouTube and on arena, problem solved.
yeah. Yeah. That would make it a lot easier for sure.
Well, and from an analytics standpoint, from like me trying to do marketing and things like that, and be able to understand where the traffic's coming from, and if we're spending money on driving traffic, things like that. It's just smarter because then we can see in one place what works, what doesn't, where we should stop spending money, where we should start spending money. Put the money where you get the best ROI. That
I
kind of
like
stuff.
money. Money's good.
It's all about the money, the dollar bill.
Yeah, man. So, Mike, we got 2 minutes left. And in the final 2 minutes, why don't we just take a look, check out some charts real quick? Why don't we just run down Bitcoin, ETH, Sol, and then maybe some other big movers today? So this is a weekly. Why don't I zoom in here to a daily? Let's just take a look at the daily a little bit. So getting a bounce today, not bad. Bitcoin bouncing. This is a bear flag pattern. However, Ethereum, another nice bounce. This is a bear flag pattern. Solana, again, bear flag and getting a little bit of a bounce, but Solana underperforming because it's more volatile and yet is not bouncing by a greater percentage amount than the less volatile assets are. We take a look at the S&P, basically like opened sharply lower on Sunday and spent, the entirety of the session today just getting it all back, bouncing. If we zoom in on the S&P to the hourly, we can see the gap down and the gap fill. So gaps like to fill. You see this here? This is a gap. And so this is the difference between the closing price on Friday afternoon
Mhm.
and the opening price on Sunday evening. That
Mhm.
creates this futures gap.
The
And
CME gap.
so this is a CME gap. So futures gaps and just gaps period like to fill like this. So whenever you see a gap like this, you should expect that at some point it fills. And that's what we saw today. So we had the gap down and go. This is referred to as a gap and go. And then around, the middle of the night, we started to see a real bid come in to S&P futures. And so basically spent the entirety of the evening, and once the cash market, the cash index opened this morning at 9:30, once that opened at 9:30, it was just basically straight up all day. And now it's 2 p.m. Eastern. There's 2 hours left in the regular cash session. We're starting to see futures back away after filling that gap. So here, let me just go ahead and mark that gap. So there's the gap down, and there's the gap fill right to the tick. Filled that gap, and now we're backing away from
All
the gap.
about filling the gap.
Yeah, man, you got to do it. And this here, this is NASDAQ gap fill, and actually moved through the gap a little bit. The Russell was the weakest overnight, and here's that gap on the Russell. It has not quite filled yet, very, very close. And then if we take a look, the last one is YM. That's the Dow Jones Industrial Average. And the Dow, if I mark that gap, the Dow has not quite filled that gap. So here's the gap down, and here's trying to fill it, but hasn't been able to. So really important just to watch those indexes and really watch crude. So here's the intraday on crude. Here's the big gap up, and crude basically filled that gap just about. So you might see a little bit more upside here out of crude oil, and that would likely mean more downside out of equities. So I am short and just managing my deltas, and things are working out pretty good.
Perfect.
So that's right.
I didn't know. Not Scoop Boy is actually one of the moderators in our Discord, Scotty D.
Oh,
So actually, let's do a quick Discord shout out here. Let me in our closing moments. So if you haven't already, come on over here to Discord. We have a great community here. We got, I believe we got about like 500 or 600 people now. But we post the whole community. They post news that they find online. If you have any DeFi questions, you can come in here. We got a general crypto chat. We even talk about emergency prep and homesteading. We have a gaming channel in here where a bunch of the people in the community, we play a couple of different games, and so we'll jump on the weekends. It's just a place to be, let people know, hey, I'm jumping on if anybody's interested. Just a great group of people. We keep it super clean. The mods are great about jumping on whenever anybody scammy comes in. They jump on and ban them, very quickly. So if you want to join that, just go ahead and look in the description on the channel, and there's a link to do that. And then, of course, you can come over here to our channel, DeFi Crypto and Airdrops. It might be getting rebranded here soon, but if you scroll down, you got DeFi University, Blockchain Report, and Blockchain Basement. Our buddy Drew over there, huge supporter of the channel. Love him. So got to have him on our brother channels. So that's all I got.
Sweet, man. Well, Mike, I guess we'll pick things back up tomorrow. I'm going to see if I can build out that chat terminal thing over the next couple of days. Got some more work to do on the Node.pro. Working on my bank BTC with DeFi Don, building out all the learning center stuff for the Node.pro, and of course DeFi University and school. Got that every single day. So got a lot going on, man. It's a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Well, let's. I'm going to talk to Jeff right after this. So Jeff, give me a call, and then then let's get me, you, Jeff, and DeFi Don on a call and start kind of strategizing, doing a sandbox on how to get all this, bring all this together.
Strategery. Let's do it.
All right.
That's right, man.
Sounds good. I appreciate you all. We got 109 over on Arena, and we got a couple of hundred on X and the YouTube accounts. Love the growth. I mean, we've only been doing this. This is our starting of our third week. We've been doing it for 2 weeks now.
Yeah. Is it really 2 weeks?
It's only been like 2 weeks, I think.
Yeah.
So great growth, and appreciate y'all. So join us tomorrow, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Pacific, noon to 2 Eastern. And until next time, Veteran Crypto out.
Peace.